Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is VlogsBoutNothin. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to join me. I really appreciate it. Tonight, I want to talk about the recent, few hour old announcement of the vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party. Um, all we need to know is that he's a younger guy. He's a senator from Ohio. He was elected as senator in an actual election upon replacing his successor, and this was in 2022. He is, I believe, Hale or Yale, Harvard. Oh my goodness, or Yale Law School educated, and wrote some book that was very popular. All credit to the dude or whatever. But I mean, this is a channel that has not been supportive of former President Donald Trump. And even after the most recent events, which were unfortunate and which we acknowledged and which we absolutely did not condone, and will once more say that, violence has no place in politics, moreover, as it has no place in the world. And I really feel like rich people that actually could make a difference in our world would take on over some of the feelings that they have now about how, near and dear their safety and security is, and translate that on over to like the rest of us, because then the world would be a lot better place. Because how can you not say, that there's again, that there is no place for that. But anyways, obviously the guy's getting better. That's good. So, moving forward, because it is an election year, and fortunately, the opponent is still here and is still going to be putting his name on a ballot to be elected president again. And so that's what it is. I think that the new VP candidate is actually going to put the Republicans in a pretty good place. You know, no disrespect to Vice President Kamala Harris, right? But I mean, I have special opinions about prosecutors. Now, it is what it is. I come from a state that most recently had a pretty good run of governorship from our governor, Susana Martinez, who was also a former prosecutor from southern New Mexico. I mean, I think it's kind of weird that prosecutors become politicians. I think that like that's weird. As an aspiring, hopefully future law student in some kind of area, I really think that that's it's really more than a conflict of interest, because prosecutors are trained in prosecuting criminals, right? And whereas, public defenders and people like this are so I'm not a fan of Kamala Harris, and I don't think a lot of people are, honestly. I mean, again, it's cool that a woman is our vice president. I think it would have been cooler if Hillary Clinton could have been our president. In that way, it's not about that, but she's a terrible vice president, and I thought she was a terrible prosecutor, and she left many problems with many people in California, and so compared to, again, Biden and Harris, or Trump and this guy that just turned 40 years old and actually has, a future in politics. And I mean, it's kind of coming out of left field, but again, so did his sitting Senate seat, and, that's how it goes. But Donald Trump did make this election, and I really feel like it's going to do them really, like, really good stuff for them, for the Republican Party, and it's just going to make the Democrats look even worse than they already do. I recently read something about how Donald Trump is calling a landslide, and the guy might be right, unfortunately. Again, because I've said this before on the program, and this has been well documented. I've said that I want to eat my words. I said that I want to be wrong. I've said before that that video I made about it not even mattering, like, whether or not, like, who to vote for president. Like, I stand by all of that, and I will continue to moving forward. But I just see no other option as to what will happen based on the given circumstances, you know? I mean, seriously. Donald Trump is proven to be a formidable political, sort of power, and we've tried to write him off now, seriously since I'd say 2012. It's safe to say when he was finally getting traction to get the support that he needed in the primaries to get on the ticket, and become a serious part of the conversation. We're forgetting that he was a registered Democrat and supported Bill Clinton. And, I mean, the guy does what's most popular so that he can get to where he wants to be. And I think that by making this younger man his vice presidential candidate, it's just going to make that possibility of former President Donald Trump, in fact, getting that landslide that he's calling a few months now before the election. Just because, again, this man will be the third youngest vice president in the nation's history if elected. And then moving forward, if that happens, the Republicans are going to have an incumbent at this point who could, traditionally speaking, most often and or not, the vice president, if young enough. We're back into the days of now Gore Clinton kind of swap, which is again a more modest, conservative, traditional political approach to how presidents and their succeeders that run for office in the next term go. And so, as Trump would do, thinking forwardly and moving forward, it's just going to make the case for his reelection that much stronger for all of the people that support him, and for all of his constituents that are going to go out to the booths, to the polls, and cast their vote for this guy now, because also not just because it's Donald Trump, but because there's an added value in that there is somebody who's 40 years old and who could possibly be, in a position of which has a lot of not just ceremonial power here domestically, but the most power foreign, as a foreign representative of or agent of our country on an executive branch level. Yeah, their job is pretty unimportant domestically, but the vice president does, in fact, even constitutionally, carry on over many responsibilities that deal with all of the things we don't get to see and or hear about on a domestic level every single day, I mean, these guys are the ones that champion backdoor deals with the Koch brothers. I'm talking to you, former Vice President Dick Cheney, the same guy who accidentally almost unkilled his friend while quail hunting. Hey, I'd be fair game too if I took out one of my buds while quail hunting. It's just a fair sort of arena. But yeah, and I mean, so I hope that everyone has a good night. It's going to be interesting to learn more about the young vice presidential candidate, because obviously he's probably going to be the most interesting person out of the four, if we're being honest here, because again, we know that Biden needs to retire and, wants to live out the best of his the rest of his best life. And we know that Kamala Harris, again, has not been a good vice president. And again, I know I'm biased, and that's because I don't believe in former prosecutors being elected to high office. It's again, I just feel, and I've always felt a certain way about it. I always have. Prosecutors, oh my goodness, their whole job, by the way, is to prosecute people. And just as a company does when their vested interest is absolutely legally 100% compliance with the bottom line, so is prosecution, Has anyone seen Law and Order? I mean, potatoes. Yeah, so I think that this new young guy is going to bring many problems over to the Democrats this year and any other third party people who are running up against former President Donald Trump. And Yeah, again, I'm not a fan of it, but I'm also not the one in charge of making these decisions. So I hope that you guys have a good night. All right, bye.